how you can transform and heal people's lives, like people are going to want that. And that's where the streaming world comes in, because there's so many millions and actually billions of people watching on these streaming platforms. And so it's really powerful when you get those stories out there.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and we turn them into super clinic owners. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer Gligoric, and today you'll be here with me and a fabulous guest. She is a Columbia University degreed marketing strategist, speaker, author, award winner, and network CEO, leading the streaming distribution and licensing industry for over 9 years. She helps creative talent, filmmakers, and producers get their projects placed and monetized on all major streaming platforms, everything from Apple TV, Amazon, Tubi, Roku, and more. She's been featured on ABC, NBC, Fox, you name it. So let's give a very big Super Clinic Project welcome to Bonnie Bruderer of Binge Networks to the show today. Welcome, Bonnie.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Hey, guys.
I am very excited to have you here. So I was cyber stalking you a little bit. We spoke before, and then I went on to stalk you, and I saw you used to be a TV cable show host.
I did. I love being stalked. That's so fun. Yeah, you had to dig deep for that one. But yeah, 10 years ago, I did have a cable show in New York City on 3 different FiOS channels.
Yeah. And then I was listening to you because I was like, how did you go from doing marketing, at Columbia, you're in school and you're going to be doing this. Then you end up as a cable TV and now you're in distribution for streaming. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey on how you made it through that to where you're at right now?
Yeah. So I basically at that point in my life, 2014, I had just graduated from a certification at Columbia and I was working as a coach. I have a strong background in life coaching. I worked for Tony Robbins for 10 years. I have 10 different certifications. And so I was working on Wall Street coaching brokers at a firm called National Securities. And I decided that I wanted to start a TV pilot. I created a pilot to start a TV show to interview different experts, authors, speakers, doctors, entrepreneurs, and use that as a tool to promote my coaching business. And lo and behold, the first TV show, I got bit by the bug, completely lost sight of that vision. And fast forward, 3 years later, we had produced 700 segments of that show. So it was initially supposed to be a marketing tool, and then it just grew into this whole other beast in a great way. And then the third year of the business, back in around 2017, we launched our own streaming network. And so it just has evolved over time since then.
That's just crazy to make the leap from being a certified performance coach to cable TV talk show host to an expert on streaming platforms and how that happened. Over 700 shows. You must have met some really incredible people.
I did. Oh my gosh, it was fascinating. I mean, people would come in, we would film 6 shows at a time and, you're hearing these people's stories and it's funny, kind of like you didn't give me much to prep for this chat and I wouldn't give people information because I wanted it to be organic. I didn't want them to prep. I didn't want them to pitch. I wanted to hear their story. And I feel like with content creation, that is really, truly the best way. And you're able to pull out some great nuggets from people. And oh my God, yeah, I met the most incredible humans that you can imagine.
That's just incredible. And what a good journey that's at. And so now you're helping people. So we have, over 1,000 clinics, mostly clinic owners. And now we're starting to get to different people. I mean, I've worked with, I say Brand Lab, who is the genius behind the Super Clinic Project, cabinet makers, service-based industry, roofers, plumbers, you name it. But the majority are clinic owners, right? But all of them, it's just a very different world right now. So if they consider themselves, well, we're just average Joes, but we're just so happening to transform healthcare in a cash pay space because insurance is broken in our country right now. And so you have these average people who just want to who help the people in their town. They're very heart-centered practitioners, and they want to get people well. They don't want to keep them stuck in a surgery drug loop. And so they're doing some cool stuff. But when we talked about that before, like, how can the quote unquote average Joes who just happen to be doing incredible things get considered to be a hot space in the streaming market? Like, how would you even start the process for someone like you to consider them? How would that look?
It's such a great question. So, I mean, my belief is that every single entrepreneur should be using streaming media. I just happened to share my story. I was doing coaching. I used media as a form to get the word out, to get the story told. And every single business that you mentioned, like, my mind is just bubbling of all these things. I mean, let's take doctors, right? We all know Dr. Phil, Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Oz, like people that have the doctors, the people that have built a brand and a name for themselves by talking about their story, talking about the patients that they're treating. That's one way to go about it. And really just branded content. I mean, a cabinet maker, DIY, is one of the most popular forms of content. So someone could be on there talking about how they're renovating a home or how they did this specific project. And there is a tremendous audience for that type of content. And it's so different when you have a business like, a dentist, a doctor, you think like, oh, I'll spend money on marketing. So I'm going to take out a bus stop ad, or I'm going to take, put an ad on this bench. That's one form of marketing, but that's a very like in your face marketing. Whereas if I saw you as a dentist, I don't know why I'm picking on dentists in a great way, but like, if I saw you like reform someone's smile and then heard how it changed that person's life in an interview, that's going to make me want to become your client. And so that's really how we've evolved to help people in the streaming world, is like teaching them you can create content and we can get it aired for you on all these platforms that have hundreds of millions of people watching them. But you have to do the work as far as being authentic, share your passion and share your story. And one of my favorite shows that we ever did, it was in the early days, it was called Top Docs. And it was this, functional medical specialist. And he worked in Kansas City, Missouri. He flew to New York. We filmed 12 episodes in one day. He had 12 different doctors come, and we did quick interviews every third one. We switched his clothes out. And so we basically had like a whole season worth of shows, and those shows aired. We got them distributed. Someone in South Africa saw one of the segments. She had a very rare autoimmune condition, paid $10,000. His retainer flew from South Africa to Kansas City, Missouri, and became his client. So things like that happen all the time with branded content. And it's just, it's pretty easy to learn how to do it. It doesn't take millions of dollars. It can be done with a light and an iPhone if done properly. But yeah.
See, that's what I want to find out, because I know that there are so many people going, yeah, I hear that. And I'm thinking you need a makeup artist, then you need the hairstylist, then you're going to need, a boom guy. And I see on movies the key grip. I don't even know what he does, but I'm pretty sure it's expensive. And
I don't know what he does.
I don't know what the key drip does. I have no idea. If somebody wants to tell us. But, there's like all these people that are involved with it. And you hear every movie, we employed 100,000 people to bring you, Clash of the Titans. And you're like, 100,000? That's, it just seems like it's so out of the realm of a regular person. So really, if they just had a ring light and a really good iPhone and they could take it to an editor, can they hire someone to do that, to make it like, where would they even begin if they're like, man, I've got 1 million testimonials. I've got patients that would just say great things about me.
Absolutely. I mean, I can do another little segment on that, really just teaching people how to do it. We don't do that side of the business. We're all about distribution these days, but I did it for so long. I produced 700 of my own shows, 8 spin-off shows. So I learned a way to do it. I mean, the 3 keys are you need great lighting, and that can be a $90 ring light or $50 ring light on Amazon. You need great sound, and you need a great environment. So as long as you have that and the content is good and authentic, you can create great shows. It's very easy these days to find somebody to edit, to find somebody to even film for you. Our little trick of the trade is we would find, we were in New York, so there's, a big production market there, but I would go find somebody that worked at CBS or CNN, and on the off day, be like, can I give you a couple $1,000s to film and edit 12 segments for me and they love it. That's extra money in their pocket. It's a fun little project. So there's lots of ways to be creative to create content. I think really just is the end goal, the mindset of what do you want to do with this? What do you want to inspire people with? If you're a doctor or you are somebody that is like you and I talked, I was in a car accident, I have pain most days. And so if you're somebody that has 50, a million, 100, whatever stories of people that have been transformed for that is powerful. And you need to get that message out to people that need it. So the streaming world is, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It has, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I feel like we need to build a bridge of how we get there, but
no, we've got lots of time. I think we're both fast talkers and I'm looking at the time going, we're going to have so much content on here, but no, I really want to be able for someone who's sitting there to go, maybe I can do this. And this is what I would need to do to be ready to talk to someone like Bonnie, right? Like, this is what I can do. And then I can reach out and say, this is what I've done. And then y'all could take it another step. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, so part of what we've evolved to is we do distribution with all the top streaming platforms like Amazon, like Tubi. And if you're not familiar with those, they have, in some cases, these networks have hundreds of millions of subscribers. So it's a very plentiful market. And we do free consultations. So we will talk to anyone. You can just have an idea, and then I can say, oh, what I've seen work great is this. We have going back to sort of your cabinet maker and the list that you put out there. We have a couple of shows we have a DIY mom show, which I think is so fantastic. And it's a designer and she just figured out a way, like being a mom and being able to get her kids to school and meet their needs and do what she needs to do. And then she creates content on the side and does these design shows that are fantastic. And then eventually that led to sponsors. There's these incredible furniture companies. There was this one sofa featured on an episode that was $35,000. So you imagine someone sees that and buys one sofa, you have your whole year of content paid for you. So there's just a lot of ways to be clever with content. I think the biggest thing is wrapping your mind around, we are talking to you. I feel like people always think oh no, they're talking to the next Dr. Oz or the next Sanjay Gupta or whatever. We're not. Those people are made. Those people just have an idea. They go for what they want. But literally in this market, you can create the niche that you want for yourself and you don't have to become a big household name or celebrity. There are so many people that are just, making videos and sharing their passion and teaching people how to do things that create tremendous followings and tremendous, leads and business opportunities. So content is really where it's at, video content specifically for growing any type of practice, any type of business.
I was thinking about, we have people that are in really incredible niches, like the neuro niche, chiropractic neuro, like the brain body connection. And they specifically work with infants and peds. And they have all these incredible statistics on working when you start out very young, very gentle, they're not popping necks or doing anything like that, but just helping children who may have had a traumatic birth experience. Maybe they had to use forceps or something with that. They just help them. And then suddenly, they're calmer, they're happier, they're more, centered, they have less gut issues. And I'm thinking something like that, I'm thinking of a couple of clients right now. They'd be like, if they can just take that story out and, you don't need to literally give them horse tranquilizers. When they go into school, there's actually other things that you can do that'll, help them be happier and more engaged and doing things. But if we don't, this is where I believe that streaming and media is just so important because we can get out things that mainstream media, because, pharmaceutical companies and other companies are the major advertisers. We're talking billions. They're pumping into it. What they're allowed, quote unquote, allowed to invest in and amplify has to please their advertisers. And on streaming platforms, because it's much more direct to consumer, you can get more diversity of voices and to get things out into the public consciousness that are of great good and great impact, but might have been gate kept out of the conversation before. It's so much more open now as far as information. And if we're going to put information out there, it shouldn't be the next reality show of a bunch of, socialites. Not that there isn't a place for that.
Sure.
But, if you can, and it can be of value, then, why shouldn't we,
Oh, absolutely. And to your point, like what parent isn't going to rush to work with you? And I think too, like thinking differently and thinking bigger, right? So maybe you're in a small rural town, any town USA, and you're thinking, well, I don't know if this is really going to work. I don't want to reach the large national audience or the international audience. Well, what about doing video meetings? Like, what about adding that service into your business? We all saw that with COVID, that became a thing. And, and I mean, I'm a parent of young kids. Like if you told me when my son was, not sleeping, he was up 3 times a night until 10 months old, that there was a way that you could fix whatever was causing his colic and, all the other things, you better believe like I would Zoom to you or go wherever it took to fix that. So
I would have too. I was so tired. My son had colic when he was young. He was an infant. And his dad came home, and we have an old house. We live here in Galveston. And so the house that we were in, at the time, it was where it had a detached garage, and inside the detached garage was the washer and dryer. And so he came home and he was just started, I had made lunch, set it out. I was so tired, and I just was holding the baby, and I could hear him complaining, geez, blah, 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 blah. And I walk in, I said, what's the matter? He goes, Jenny, he's Serbian, so it's got that Slavic accent. He goes, Jenny, the refrigerator's broken. Look at all this water. And I looked, and there was water underneath the refrigerator, and I was like, oh no, little baby, there's this big thing. And he opens it up, and all the wet clothes I had stuffed in there. I had actually been so tired from not sleeping that I had walked to the garage, gotten the clothes out of the washer, walked through the yard, and put them in the refrigerator like I was putting in the groceries, because that's another thing I would do from the garage to the thing. So I too would, if I would have known about pediatric chiropractic, I probably would have not been so. I remember just thinking the baby's alive. Like that is my job right now.
It's true. Like any specialty, you're gonna, like when you can tell people's story and tell like what you just shared and, how you can transform and heal people's lives, like people are going to want that. And that's where the streaming world comes in, because there's so many millions and actually billions of people watching on these streaming platforms. And so it's really powerful when you get those stories out there.
And so one of the freebies, guys, so again, we're talking to Bonnie Bruderer of Binge Networks. So a really great tool that she's going to provide is a free consult, right? And so I want you to talk about that. So if someone takes advantage of that, is there anything they need to prepare ahead of time before they get on their consult with you?
The best thing is just come with an idea. Like if you have one, if you don't worry about it. Show up to the call. We'll hash it out. If you have content already, fantastic. Like if you've been doing video testimonials, that's great. But otherwise, if you just come, I'm happy to give you ideas. Like normally on the consultations, we just talk about, okay, here's the content. Here's where we can place it for you. Like, let's get this going. But I'm also more than happy to talk to people at the ideas stage or even give ideas, because I've seen a lot, we've worked with thousands of clients over the last decade. So I'm happy to share like, well, what if you did this? And also recommend people that can film for you, that can edit for you if that's what you need. Again, that's not necessarily what we do. We're all about distribution, but we've been doing it for so long, we can we can really take anyone that's even like, well, I've never been in front of the camera. Great. Let's get this going, and get your idea hashed out and get your content started. So I just believe that every single person should be doing video content. And I mean, if I look back of when I was a coach and thought like, oh, I'm going to create this TV show to promote that, to where we are today, having created this multi-million-dollar like media empire, it's ridiculous to even believe. And so I believe for everybody else, whatever your goals are in your business, that you can use video content to create those goals.
It's actually exciting to talk to you, because I feel like everybody has something, and they also too, I talk to, when we're leading our clients through our accelerator program, or even when they go with me or the other coaches on their one-on-one, there's so many that have like really fascinating hobbies too, like things that are passion projects and how video can really help them. And if they can get it distributed, because, it's one thing to have, we have a lot of clients that have lots of video because we push them to do video. They have to give us 3 to 5 videos a week. Then we do a content matrix with them for an entire social media thing. So we have people who have lots of video, right? But what do they do with the video? How can they actually get that seen? Which, I didn't, until, we connected, I didn't even realize there were people like that were like you out there. I just thought there was, I don't know. I don't even know what I thought. I just thought you had to spend like $500,000 on some PR firm or something that was really Hollywood. And that's how you got on. I didn't know it could be like this.
I mean, for most people, that is what they do, and that is how they get on. And that's really why we created our company. And so talking about that bridge, so we've talked about the streaming network. We talked about the start. Where we are today is we also have a licensing agency. And so what we did, it was actually another funny story. During COVID, I had a 3-day-old. I thought I would be on maternity leave. And then I get an all caps text from my operations director saying, Tiger King is Carol. Tiger King is Carol. And we had this client that had all this wildlife content on a channel on our platform. And then all of a sudden, you get where I'm going, Tiger King comes out and it becomes Netflix #1 show because everybody in the world is home binge watching. And so immediately we got calls. Can we license that content? What else do you have? We need content because viewing behavior went up 10x and production stopped overnight, literally. And people needed sports. They needed children's programming for kids' school closures. They needed all this stuff. And so I was like, well, there goes maternity leave, strapped my little baby on my chest in her little pouch, and I just started negotiating all of these deals. And then that's where our licensing department was born. And now that's probably the bigger division of our company, where we take all of the content that we bring onto our owned and operated platform that airs on Apple TV and Roku and iOS, and we license it out to Amazon, to Tubi, there's over 150 different networks that we work with. We also do cable television deals. We do DVD production if you're in a field that is more educational, which is pretty much everybody that you've mentioned. If you're doing like a video series on pediatric chiropractic, well, we can then get that produced into DVDs and get it into schools and education,
yeah, that would be so huge too.
Yeah.
I can't believe, so you had Carol Baskin's videos. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cause I got to tell you, so I said, this tiger thing is supposed to be funny, right? So I started watching, and